Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Football Martin channel. Saints chat, as always, on the channel. And I've got a really good guest coming on today. I've been advertising this for a few days now because I've been excited about this guest coming on the show. A guy's content that I read a lot of. He does some very, very good articles in and around Southampton. He works with Analytics United as well, and he knows Southampton inside out. And this is going to be a superb stream, this one. So get involved in the chat if you're watching live. Hit the comments box. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. But please welcome to the show today, Fraser Spinney, who is here with us. Fraser, welcome along to the show, mate. How you doing?
Thank you for having me. Yeah, really good. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Let everybody know where they can find you. For those of you that are just tuning in, you don't know who Fraser is, you need to give him a follow, an absolute must follow. Fraser, let everybody know, please, mate.
I appreciate that. Yeah, my Twitter is obviously below. It's at Fraser Spinney 21. Pretty much all my work, regardless of who it's for, I'll post there. Like you said, I do a bit for Analytics United, just covering Southampton, and I have my own blog, which is posting in, which is a bit sporadic at the moment, but I'm looking to sort of pick it back up again. So yeah, if you want to catch any of my stuff, then they're the places to go.
Mate, you've been following Saints a while now. You've been a Southampton fan for a good period of time.
Yeah. So I'm 27 now, and I've probably as long as I can remember really supported Saints. Sort of initially got into the club obviously when we were sort of teetering towards relegation from the Prem the first time, and sort of stuck with it ever since. So yeah, you can't choose who you support really, can you? And it gets a hold of you. So
it does. It's topsy turvy, isn't it? I think I went in the late '90s. My dad took me to watch Saints at the Dow, and kind of once you've been, it kind of it gets embedded into you, and that's it, isn't it? It was always around my family. Southampton were always on the TV, and at the time, everybody was supporting Man United. Sort of like I was born in '82, but it was all Man United were doing well, Liverpool doing well, all Liverpool, Man United fans, and just bucked the trend by following Saints. But I'm glad I did. They've put us through the ringer a few times, but mate, let's get talking about all things Southampton now and what's been happening this season. I want to reflect on with you, like a little look back at we're 11 games in now. It's really good to talk to people like yourself of what your thoughts have been so far. Like I said, 11 games in. It's been a bit of a rocky start, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been interesting because I think we're not too far off where I probably would have put us for now. Just after the appointment of Martin in charge, I think it was always going to take time. And my before the season started, I think I sort of said that I could see us, if it comes together, sort of pushing into the playoffs. But I thought where it would take time to embed, I thought automatics would be a very much a long shot even at the start of the season. But yeah, I mean, it's a bit odd really because we're not in an awful position. I think we're sat in 10th, aren't we? But it's the way we've got our points. It's just sort of that. I mean, that run of 4 games in a row while losing all 4. It's just.
Were you surprised at that to go 4 games and get beaten like we did? It was the man of those defeats as well. Yeah. I was shocked. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I was. I think obviously Sunderland completely came out of the blue, and it's sort of. I think it was a bit of a wake-up call, that 5-0, because I think everyone sort of thought like, oh, we're in the Championship now. We hadn't lost a game at that point. Everyone was sort of enjoying it. It was all fresh, and everyone's like, actually, Championship's all right, like we win games, there's lots of goals, it's entertaining. And then that was a bit of a, hang on, there's a lot to be done here still. I think looking back at the time, the early start of season seemed really positive, but actually as time's gone on, it's sort of become quite apparent that some of those early fixtures were actually what will be some of our easier fixtures this season, potentially, like Sheffield Wednesday, Plymouth doing okay, but that's sort of a game you'd expect us to win. And Norwich, obviously, the 4-4 draw was just pure entertainment, really, but also a calamity of errors. I think we're about where we not where we should be, because I think we should be aiming higher. But given the style of play and given what we're looking to achieve, I think. We're doing okay. We need to hit the ground running after this international break, I think, and put another run together, because the Rotherham result was very disappointing. The performance, I actually felt the performance has come under more criticism than it deserves. But ultimately, when you draw with a side like that, you're going to get a bit of criticism, and that actually we did at times. It was almost too easy and it got a bit too pedestrian. But I think we're doing okay. Yeah, I think we're doing okay. I think Ross Stewart coming in is going to be crucial. I think he really has to hit the ground running, and I think as much I want to, I don't want to preach, but I think patience is key with Martin. I think there's nothing, I don't know about you, but it's so frustrating for me. I understand frustration with mistakes which have happened early in the season, but when you're at St. Mary's and passes backwards are getting booed and you're playing out from the back, people are screaming to lump it long, and it's
not helpful, is it? It's not helpful.
And I think the booing at the end of the Rotherham game, I think that was, to be honest, I think that was embarrassing. I don't understand how you can be disappointed the result, but actually, if you take a step back and think about the performance and where we're at and stuff, like what good does booing really do? And I know people feel like they're entitled to their opinion, and they are. Fans pay money to watch the team every week, and it's their club at the end of the day. But I just think there just needs to be a bit of a reality check of actually.
Absolutely,
we got relegated bottom of the league, and we were by far the worst team in the Premier League. We've lost a lot of players. A lot of players come in. We've gone from 4 or 5 years of pressing football, recruiting to press, and now completely shifted and gone possession focused. At times, there's going to be mistakes. We are seeing less mistakes, I think, as the weeks go on, and at times it is going to be. Unfortunately, it's a little bit dry at times, but it's very different. It's a completely different approach, and I think we just need to stick with it, because Martin and he's not proven per se, but he has shown he can improve teams, and both of his spells at MK Dons and Swansea, they have gone on really good runs towards the end of his sort of time in charge. And I think we will reap the rewards of that. Looking at Burnley going up last season, I do worry about, if we did go up, how that translates to the Premier League necessarily, because
there's a huge gap between the two leagues, isn't there?
Exactly. And
I think as a fan of Southampton, Leicester, or Leeds, and you've seen the difference between the two divisions, it is massive, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's huge. I mean, some of the players I've seen at St. Mary's this season are very average players. Like, don't want to be too critical of the opposition and stuff, but even some of our players, the drop off in quality is massive, and it's no surprise because of the money involved. But actually, it's probably a bigger drop off than I expected, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm with you. Totally echo your thoughts about the booing at St. Mary's after the Rotherham game. I just found the whole thing bizarre. It just seems to become something that's acceptable in football now. I watched the England games over the last few days, and the booing of Henderson. I know there's issues around it, but this constant booing is like this. It just doesn't do anyone any good. If you want your home team to do well, you just need to get everybody on side and everyone get behind the team, because I think we all in life need confidence, don't we, to do well. And if the players are being booed, it's just going to end in one place, a toxic atmosphere that nobody needs, do they? St. Mary's has been hard enough as it is, isn't it? We've not won enough games there over a period of time for many reasons, but I just think, like you say, we're not in a horrific position, are we? There's so many games to play, isn't there, Fraser?
Yeah, exactly. I think there's 35 games left. And I think the other thing to remember is how young some of these players are that are being booed. And people I also think as well, like I know Flynn Downs came out and sort of said something about the booing, and I do agree with him, but I also think if Flynn Downs is the player he's start of season not great, but I've heard that illness actually had quite a big impact on him. And he's been really good the last few games. And actually, we want these players to come and want to play for us. So if we're booing, if we're booing stuff like that, then why would they want to stick around? Like, I think it's obviously a big hangover from the past few years where actually I feel like fans at the start of the season but need to see this as just a clean slate, and that built up frustration from the past few seasons of miserable times at St. Mary's. They just need to sort of let that go and just focus on this season. And actually, this season there's been a lot to be positive about, I think.
Yeah, we've managed to keep hold of a few players that we probably didn't expect to keep hold of. Shay Adams has stayed. Obviously, Silamana's still there. Carl Walker-Peters is the biggest surprise for me that he's still there, because I think he's the best right back in the division, isn't he, by a long way?
Yeah,
you did a really good article on Shay Adams this week. It's interesting what you said in the article, and you spoke about the drop-off in form since the transfer window closed. This did happen over 2 prior transfer windows as well. There's something. Do you think he was playing for a move, Adams? Like your gut feeling?
Yeah, I think he probably was, and I think as well as that, like I don't obviously I don't know anything about Che Adams, meant like what his character's like, really like his mental state or anything like that. But I think not even if you're not if you're playing for a move or expecting to move when you've gone down at division, and then you don't get that move, I think it's gonna even because I've seen a few people in response to my the article I wrote say like you think he can just turn his form on and off like that, and I don't. But I think
Mm.
you're gonna like if you had your heart set on a move to Premier League and all of a sudden you're still here, even
Yeah.
if it's subconscious, there's going to be a drop off. There's going to be a
Yeah, I
loss of
mean, if you're blocked on
motivation.
deadline day as well, like he probably
Yeah,
was, he
exactly.
probably
And
thought he was going on deadline day.
yeah, and there's all sorts going on. I mean, we've got like Ross Stewart in at the last minute, but he was left out of the QPR game because his Martin said he wasn't in the right sort of headspace. I mean, there's all sorts going on, and most of it we'll never even hear about. But he to be linked 2 summers in a row and not get that move, I think will be very. I mean, it will be disappointing for him. And there's
Mm.
2 ways you can respond to that. You can either respond by, I mean, ultimately the problem is he's out of contract at the end of the season regardless. So in his
Yeah.
mind, he's probably thinking, no matter what happens this season, I'm in a strong position. He could play really be really bad all season, and a Premier League club will probably still take a punt on him, lower Premier League club, and go, okay, but he didn't want to be there. He's free. It's very low
Mm.
risk. We know he can. I say can do it at the Premier League. He has done it at the Premier League. He isn't a prolific goal scorer in the Premier League or in the Championship, really. But people know what you get from Che Adams on form with a strike partner. You know what you get, and he's quite. I don't want to say reliable because he's not reliable. His finishing's pretty poor
Just
and
doesn't
erratic.
score
But
enough goals, doesn't he?
no, but
Doesn't
around the
score enough.
box, you kind of know what you're getting from him. But
Yeah.
or if he does really well, he's. I mean, it's the onus should be on him to do really well because either he
Yeah.
gets a move or he gets a great new contract offer and he probably starts for Scotland in the Euros next summer. But I just think that initial disappointment, whether consciously or subconsciously, is going to impact him, and it has. And actually, I mean, his last few performances have been really poor. I mean,
Yeah, I was
Rotherham,
disappointed.
he
Yeah, I
was
was really disappointed
poor.
against Rotherham.
Yeah, I thought that's the sort of game where
Didn't work hard enough. He just didn't. He didn't show
no,
that willingness that he would
yeah,
do. That he would drop in and
yeah,
and
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 that
kind of beat people off the ball and make sure that he was available and kind of almost work
yeah.
in the build up. He didn't do any of it, did he?
Yeah, and that's normally the thing you can bank on with Adams. If even if you're not getting the goals, you normally bank on the hard work off the ball. Just didn't really look interested, and it's frustrating because I think we've got a player in Alcaraz who really is sort of fired up and is keen. And that 5-year deal we signed is great news to the club, regardless of whether it means we get a big fee for him or he stays. But he seems relatively happy, and I
Mm.
mean, he sort of committed himself, and him in that false nine position, I think just at the moment just offers so much more than Che Adams is. So.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've enjoyed seeing Charlie play there. I think he's a wonderful player as it is, and I want to.
Yeah,
Not about you. He's a player that I want to see in the team. I do worry about the weekend. We head to Hull at the weekend. He's probably going to get back from Argentina late on Friday. You would expect. I think
yeah,
they play. We're recording this on Wednesday, the 18th. So I think the game's today. Time
yeah.
he flies back, will he make it for Saturday? Do you think? Gut feeling.
I can't see it, to be honest. I can't see it, and I don't know what. I mean, does that mean Adam starts, or does that mean we'll try something a bit different?
We try
Because
something different. Yeah.
yeah, I think because problem is, and it's the problem I think we're going to touch on anyway, but the sort of striker debate where Adam Armstrong doesn't
You bring us in nicely to it, actually.
yeah he's not really doing it. He hasn't really done it as a lone striker this season.
Mm.
Adams is off the ball. I mean, maybe there'll be something. He'll show something where actually he's sort of gone away. Maybe international duty's done him some good. I don't know. Maybe he's gone away and sort of had a bit of time to think about things. I'm just really disappointed with Sekumara, to be honest.
Yeah.
I
Thoughts on
keep.
Sekumara?
I think there's a player in there, but it's just not. He just doesn't do enough for me. I mean, he shows glimpses, but he's just a bit. I just always want a bit more from him, and actually, he's not. I thought championship would be the making of him, and it's not looking that
Mm.
way. I mean, they must see someone in training because like I mean, Stoke game he came on ahead of Adams. He must be doing something right in training, and he's played like he wasn't in the last squad, but he's been playing for France under 21s, being managed by Thierry Henry and stuff. Like there's got to be a player in there. He was pretty heavily sought after when we got him from Bordeaux. I know they had a lot of financial trouble,
Mm.
but there are a lot of clubs circling. And even like in the summer, he was linked with loan moves to some of the top French sides. So
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
there's got to be something in that, but he's just not showing it regularly enough. And I don't know if he just needs to sort of toughen up a little bit, or I mean, that sounds really sort of old fashioned, but there's something there that just
True though.
is
It's
missing. Yeah,
true.
it's missing.
He's
And
really struggled. He's disappointed me really. I thought after that
yeah,
Man City goal in the cup last year, he would have really kicked on. I don't know about you. He
yeah,
took it. He took the goal really well that night, didn't he?
yeah.
That night, Nathan Jones when
That's
he
what I mean.
turned
Yeah,
over Pep Guardiola's Man City.
yeah, yeah,
Probably the best performance I saw at St Mary's last year. I don't know about you. I thought they were
yeah,
outstanding that night.
yeah.
And
It
he in
really
that
were.
goal, I just thought, here you go. That's your launch pad, lad. Now go
Mm.
on and drive on. But he didn't, did he? He just
Nah, he didn't.
he gets beaten off the ball quite easy. And sometimes I think his work
Yeah,
rate lets him down a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah. He doesn't seem
A
to
lot of
work
people talk about
that
work
hard.
rate, and it'd be interesting to get your opinion on Joe Aribo. He's a player that's not really featured a lot in the last sort of like half a year. Really, he played a lot
Mm.
at the start of his, well, once when Ralph was the manager, but he disappeared as last season went. Do you think he fits into this side, Joe Aribo, Fraser?
Mm. I don't think he does really fit into the side, but I also don't think anyone knows what his best position is, and
No, I don't.
that includes himself. I think that includes Russell Martin. I mean, he's been playing in the sort of midfield three when he has come on recently. The problem I have with Joe Aribo is that he looked when he first joined, and I mean that friendly goal against Villarreal, and he scored against Leeds earlier, and he looked like we had
Great
a
goal,
real
that
player.
Villarreal goal,
Yeah,
wasn't it? Like,
yeah, it
unbelievable.
looked like we had a real player, and he looked like he was dribbling. He was quick. He was like mobile, and he just doesn't seem to be able to get around the pitch. I mean, he has that sort of running style where it almost looks lazy because it's quite an unorthodox running style, and he's
The
quite
socks around his ankle almost just
yeah. It's
about
almost
covering his shin pads.
yeah. It's almost like a bit laboured, and everything looks like hard work for him. But I
I
just
think a
think
lot of players that wear socks low do. I don't know about you, just that wearing
yeah,
socks, just like baggy socks, it doesn't look great. I know Grealish does it, and he never looks
yeah,
like a player that's got any pace or though he works a bit. I know he's hard. It's a
yeah.
rubbish comparison, but it just doesn't look great, does it?
No, I see what you're saying, and I think as well, like just with Aribo, he doesn't do enough defensively to play in the middle three, but he doesn't
Mm,
offer enough in terms of goals, assists, chances, and stuff to be in the front three. And he's obviously not a striker, so you've got to play wide, and
yeah,
our width is where all our pace is, and he's not got the pace. So I just don't think it's really worked out for him. And I think I can see him
it's
being
not, is
one
it?
that
No.
maybe gets moved on in January, if on loan, maybe initially with a view to a move. Because I don't think anyone's really going to come in for him now. But if he has a good loan spell, maybe he'll get a bit more value back. But it's just not
Yeah.
worked for him, has it really?
No, it's just not stepped up to it at all. We were talking about the striker situation. Funny, I horribly thought to myself when you said, "Will he try something different at the weekend?" I thought, "Oh, he could end up putting a Rebo in that false nine." I hope he doesn't, but
No.
it could happen. But there are some rumours. I don't know if you've heard it. They reckon that Ross Stewart could. They're very tight on letting things out at the moment. Certainly,
Mm,
Russ Martin is something that he was annoyed at when he came into the football club. There was too much training ground information being linked in the mainstream press. There's been no images of Ross Stewart, but it has been spoke about that he could be involved at the weekend. Ross Stewart, how important do you think he's going to be for Saints?
well, I think it's make or break really for our season. I think
I do, yeah.
I, yeah, I think I'm really excited to see him. I have a couple of concerns about him, which I hope I'm wrong
Mm.
about. One of which is he's had a very bad injury, like Achilles, rupturing your
He's done it
Achilles
twice,
is,
isn't it? Is this injury? Has he
yeah,
done it twice?
he's done it
It's a big
twice, and
injury,
he's
isn't it, to do twice?
hasn't played since January. He's own. I mean, if you exclude the Scottish Premier League, this is the highest level he's ever played at in the Championship, and he's only played 13 games in his whole career in the Championship. He
Yeah,
scored
I
10 in
noticed
that
that.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that time, he scored 10 goals, got 3 assists, which is obviously amazing. But that was on
Mm.
the back of scoring, I think, 26 goals in the League One when they came up. Sunderland came
Yeah.
up, and actually, other than that, he hasn't been prolific at all over his career. And it's one of those things where, like, is he now 27 coming into his prime and that's his level, or was he
Yeah.
just on an amazing run of form and it's a bit of a one-off? That's my only concern. I think that's being potentially a bit overlooked by fans that are really excited about him.
It
Is
has
that
been overlooked. Yeah, I totally agree. I
yeah,
think you brought a really good point up, and a lot of those goals are scored in League One. Scored a lot of
exactly,
goals
yeah,
for Sunderland in League One. I
yeah,
spoke to a Sunderland fan the other day. I do a little bit of TikTok content, and I jump on a few lives, and there was a Sunderland fan come on, and he said to me, "Great player." He said, "But Guy," he said, "you've taken a massive punt on him as a player,
oh yeah, and I
massive punt
actually
because of the
yeah.
injury being twice."
Yeah, and I remember talking about this. I can't remember who I was talking to about it during the transfer window, and they said about. I think I went on a Sunderland podcast actually, and was talking about it, and they were sort of saying like, "Oh, Ross Stewart, like, because I think it's up to 10 million with add-ons. And I said, I think we're
Yeah.
massively overpaying for him. For a
It's
player
big
that's
bucks.
been out for so long, is out of contract in the summer, has had probably 9 months of being really good in front of goal. It's a massive risk, and I think there's
Yeah.
not better value to be had, because if he comes good, then it's worth every penny. But it does seem a lot for a player,
If it comes good, yeah.
championship player out of contract in the summer with a massive injury and a recurring injury, like you said. I do, on the other hand, I do think he will make us a bit more potent in front of goal. I mean, one of his strengths is his finishing. Over the past sort of year and a half, he has looked very good in front of goal, and he's a bit of a battering ram as well. Like, he's not. We'll play nice football, I'm sure, but we can mix it up and go a bit more direct. I mean, he's 6'2". He's a very willing runner, and he runs in behind as well, which is good as well, because Adams is probably our target man, so to speak, even though he's not massive, but he doesn't run in behind. Whereas Ross Stewart is a very, very willing runner. He's quick. I mean, it's the only things that let him down at times are his like bringing people into play, and his touch is sometimes a bit off. But I think generally speaking, we've got a pretty well, for this level, a very well-rounded striker. And if he does hit the ground running, then we're good, because I think if we had a fit Ross Stewart against Rotherham, we would have been home and hosed by half time. Like,
and it just needs someone to finish, didn't it? It wasn't anyone to finish.
And I think that's the difference. I mean, people can moan about we've done all like passed it around so much, had so much possession, but what we've got to show for it. If you had a clinical striker, we probably come away with a lot more points this season. And I think if he can be that person, if he can be that man, and it's not just finishing the chances, it's actually being there to he's almost creating the chances by being that target in the box. We have very little box presence, I find, at the moment. We have great wingers, or very good wingers for this level, but they can't just sling it in the box. And with Ross Stewart, you can do that, and I think he'll have a real impact. I'm really excited to see him. I do think they won't take any risks with him. I think they really ease him in. I don't think we'll see him starting for another month or so, to be honest. I think he'll be coming off the bench a lot. Hopefully starting maybe this weekend, if not maybe the next one. But yeah, I do agree with Russell Martin, though. I do like, from a fan perspective, it's rubbish not having any leaks, because you get less information to go off. But from an actual club perspective, it is good that the leaks have stopped.
Oh, it's brilliant. The last thing you want is the opposition knowing what you're going to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm also a bit quietly optimistic as well, because I think Martin's had a few more of the senior players around this international break than he did last time. And I mean, after the last international break, we lost 3 in a row after that. So hopefully we do a bit better after this one.
Yeah, and Bednarek's been there, hasn't he? He didn't go away with Poland this time. He's been a good voice for him. But we talk about leaders, and we'll talk about someone that's wearing the captain's armband at the minute, and that's Adam Armstrong. What you thought, if you look at our best players this season, you probably put him as a standout along with Kyle Walker-Peters. I don't know about yourself. Have you been impressed about Adam Armstrong? Would you say he's been your best player from what you've seen?
Yeah.
Looking at the analytics and what he's done?
Yeah, I have been impressed with him. I struggle with Adam Armstrong, I have to be honest, because
I do.
Because what he's been doing has been positive and it has been good, but he just frustrates me so much. I think, and the thing I struggle with as well is that we know he can't make the step up. So it's not like having a player we're like, oh, he's it's really good, and actually if we go up, we know he can't make that step up, and he
really struggled in the Premier League, didn't he?
Yeah,
just didn't score enough goals.
And some of that you can say is probably confidence and stuff like that, but actually he still misses a lot of chances. I mean, he has been one of the leading sort of lights in our season so far, and he has been good. And I think I do prefer him out wide to being a lone striker, but also very much I didn't like the experiment with him in midfield, I have to be honest. I think he didn't do badly. No, he didn't do badly there, but I think it just made us so exposed. The balance of our midfield, when it was sort of him, he was like him, Smallbone, and like Stu or something like that. The balance was just all over the place, or Alcaraz. And I think I like him off the right at the moment. I think he could do it off the left as well. Probably more so off the left in terms of threat, but I think Sulemana is just so much more threatening from the left. But yeah, it's hard, like I say, because I do think he has been done really well for himself, and he's been one of our best players. But I still struggle with him because I feel like he just hasn't got. He's almost like Theo Walcott. He just hasn't got that football brain, I don't think.
Yeah, just can't. Yeah, it doesn't get any rhythm, does he, at all?
No.
When you look at like our best player for you so far, who's look at obviously you'll analyze a game a little bit more than say like I maybe do as a fan. Obviously, you look at the analytics a bit more than I would. Who's impressed you the most from what you've seen,
Yeah,
statistics, what you've
yeah.
watched?
I mean, I agree with you on the Carl Walker Peters point. I think he's been very good. And I think, I mean, I think the opening few weeks he was a bit shaky, but I think that's because Martin was asking him to do something that just doesn't suit him at all. Like,
Totally different for him, isn't it?
yeah, Walker Peters' best traits are his ability to drive forward, dribble the ball, connect with his wide player. He's very good when he has someone to sort of play off on the right with him. But it was almost like he'd had to invert. I mean, he's a good passer of the ball, but he's not going to come in and not keep the ball knocking around. He's best at progressing the ball through carrying the ball rather than passing it, and he's very good at that. And he's a very good outlet, and he's very good at wide. And his underlapping and overlapping runs are really threatening for us. And he just couldn't do that if he was getting sort of sitting in the middle of the park. So yeah, he's been really good, and one that as we have sort of adapted our tactics has got the best out of him, because there's no point having Carl Walker Peters and not using him in the way because he is, like you said, I think, like you said earlier, is the best right back in the league, and it's not very close either. I mean, I can't believe there wasn't more interest in him. I can't believe he
I'm
wasn't
really surprised he's still here. I can't believe he's still here.
One of the ones I've been really impressed with, and it might be a bit of recency bias because he's been really good lately, but Stu Armstrong, I think, has really done well, and he's a player I've always really liked. We were led to believe previously that he couldn't play 3 games in a week, but he has sort of stepped up to that. And I don't know. I mean, his biggest enemy is his body, isn't it? He gets a lot of like niggly muscle injuries, and I think a lot of that's because of his sort of explosive, like that. The way he over the years sort of glides past people was so good to watch, and he has lost that a little bit now. I mean, he's over past 30 now, and I think his muscle injuries are catching up with him, but he's still been really, really important in the middle midfield, and he's by far and away our most intelligent midfield player. The way he picks up the little pockets of space and gets the ball in the half turn, I think he really has been good, and I think he's actually stepped up as well, and I think he's almost become a bit of a leader as well in that. And it's been good to see, because he's like I say, he's a player I've always really liked, and he's had a hard sort of 18 months, I think, at the club, and a lot of injury problems in and out of the team, struggled to really get up to speed. And I didn't know he had that free kick in his locker as well, to be honest.
It's unbelievable free kick. It was a brilliant free kick.
So good.
I think he looks like he has a good rapport with the manager. I think the celebration at Stoke probably spoke volumes, but they look to get on well. It's something that I know Russell's took a lot of critics, which is at this stage a little bit harsh, I think. But he's definitely looks like a man manager to me. He looks like he works with the players. He builds a bit of a team spirit, and he's got players on side that he needed to get on side that we didn't really want to lose. Like Walker Peters, we didn't want him. We couldn't afford to lose him right now. To lose so many, those Carl Walker Peters and Stuart Armstrong as well would have been a huge blow, wouldn't it? But he's managed to get them on board, and that's down to man management. You would say. Yeah,
the only way they've stayed is that you sort of pitch them the plan, what his ideas are, and they've bought into it, and actually they've gone. Because I know it doesn't count for much in football, but he does just seem like a decent bloke, doesn't he, as well? And he's very
he does, absolutely.
He's sort of I really, really find his honesty really refreshing as well, because we've had a lot of sort of murmurs out the club over the last few years, and no one really telling us what's going on. And actually, he's been very honest, and I think the fans appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that rapport he's built, and he's like you say, he's got people on side. And I think, sorry, just going back to that point before, and it's kind of linked to this, but I think Bednarak and Harwood Bellis deserve a massive mention as well. I mean, since they've sort of formed, since they've got their partnership going, they've been really good. And Bednarak actually, for all the sort of stick he got, he's really turned it around for me, and I actually really sort of like what he's done. And actually, he could have easily kicked up a fuss and gone, actually, I want to leave in the summer. But actually, he's one of the leaders now, and I think he said that Martin said he wants him to be one of those leaders, because I think he really is. And him and Harwood Bellis have just sort of blossomed, a new really nice partnership was blossoming. But I mean, we don't really know the extent of Harwood Bellis' injury, but I'm a bit worried about that, to be honest.
I'm concerned. We'll probably find out Friday at Russell's press conference. I don't think it'll be Thursday or Friday at the press conference, but he's been back at the football club for a while now, hasn't he? He came back last week, so it's a player we didn't want to lose right now, especially with Jack Stevens being injured.
Yeah, I just find for a player his age, he's just so mature for a centre back, and he really he seems to really be up for. I know not being up for every game is not really quantifiable thing, but he's really sort of engaging with the fans and stuff, which I like.
For a lone player as well. You mean in Benderek or in Harwood Bellis?
No, Harwood Bellis. Yeah, Harwood Bellis.
Harwood Bellis. He's on loan as well, isn't he? So I mean, like you say, he's bought into the club and the fan base.
Yeah, I mean, he's in a weird situation because he's he signs for, if we go up, he signs. If we don't, he doesn't. So it's like,
Yeah.
in terms of if his mentality is right, he's hopefully thinking, well, I want to get this club up and sign for him and be a Premier League player here. I mean,
Yeah.
he's really nice blend of like an old fashioned centre back, but with the new sort of passing ability and that. And he takes a lot of responsibility, which I like. I think the Ipswich game when we lost 1-0 and we were really poor, he was the one that, even though we were losing the ball, trying things, he was the one that was demanding that the players keep doing it, keep sticking at it and doing that. And I really like that. I think he's taking a lot of responsibility. And it's good to see. And him and Bednarek are a nice blend, because Bednarek does the sort of uglier stuff. And Harabellis can be a bit more composed. I think we need that, because two players playing like Shea Charles and Harabellis, for example, it's just a bit lightweight. I mean, Harabellis is very good in the air, but he needs someone beside him. And I actually think Jack Stevens might struggle to get back in if those two are fit, because
he will.
He
absolutely will. Yeah, they have formed a really good pair. I've got a question for you. It was asked to me, but I'm gonna pin it to you. It was in the comments box. Haley's asked, "Can you see Southampton getting promoted again?" I want to pin it to you because you're the guest, Fraser. So what's your thoughts when you look ahead to the remainder of the season? Obviously, we've seen 11 games. I still think it's early in the season. I think once we get to Christmas, we'll have a better idea. But how do you feel about it at the moment? Do you think we can get promoted?
Yeah, like you say, I think it's very early. I think if we are to be promoted, I think it'll be via the playoffs. I think Leicester,
Right.
Leicester have just, there's no one's, I mean, unless they seriously fall off, no one's touching Leicester this season. They've lost, I think they've lost one game, haven't they? And the rest they've won. It's the best ever start to a championship season. And they have got a Premier League team. It's like as simple as that, really. Ipswich have started unbelievably well as well, and they're doing really good things there. I don't think they've quite got enough to maintain it, but I mean, the longer you keep momentum going, the more chance you have. I mean, Leeds I'm sure will be up there coming in the season. I do think we'll struggle to get in the automatics, because I don't think we'll be able to have that consistency of. I think we'll have a few Rotherhams this season where we sort of frustratingly dominate but don't get the points, and I think that's probably the difference between us and the likes of Leicester, where I think they will put those teams to bed. I think third or fourth is probably where about right for. I think that could be considered a good season, given the turnaround, the playing style.
Yeah, if we could get in the playoffs, I'll be more than happy now.
And then it's a lottery, and I don't really.
Yeah, exactly.
If you lose in the playoffs, then you have to hold your hands up and just go again next year.
Yeah, like we play Hull at the weekend. There's a good chance that they'll be in and around the playoffs.
Yeah,
they look a good side under Liam Rosino. Another side that want to pass the ball. That I had a Hull fan on yesterday, and we were previewing the game. And it was interesting, Fraser, what he said. He said about Hull and the possession base. He said Ipswich are doing exactly the same as Southampton. They're all playing a similar way. Just Ipswich have got the confidence, and they're just doing it that much quicker because everybody's in a really good vibe at the moment, and it's coming off. And that's probably the position we need to get in. Once we kind of get into that groove, same as Hull, results will come, won't they? They will come.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think the thing with Ipswich is that, and comparing them to us, is that you have to consider they're coming off a massive high of getting promoted, and that probably
a lot to be said for it, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, it's massive. I think that can you can sort of glide off that for the first sort of couple of months of the season, and just sort of you get through games because you're just confident. Whereas we've come off the back of, realistically, probably 2-3 years of negativity, and there is a lot of damaged confidence in the team. You can see that, and the new faces have come in and hopefully given everyone a bit of a lift. But there's some good players, obviously, that have left. But there's definitely still the sort of, I think Russell Martin always refers to it, doesn't it, about the scars of last season, or that scar tissue. Yeah, he loves saying that, doesn't he? But I think it is true, to be honest.
There's still staff around, isn't there? There's still the kit men are still the same. There's people that have been around the football club for a while. Some of the fitness coaches are still there. And obviously the fan base as well. I think we were all scarred from the last couple of years. Certainly last season, the form at home, it was, and I can understand the frustration builds up, but just if everyone can just all come together between now and Christmas and get ourselves in a good position, it could look so different come Christmas, couldn't it? It could be looking at it thinking, have a good second half of the season, and we'll be right thereabouts.
Yeah, and I think as well, the other thing is, I would say, is just from a fan's perspective, I would just try and enjoy it, because in the Premier League, realistically, there's at most probably you're not going to come in the top four. It's just not going to happen. You're realistically aiming for top half in a cup run. In this league, you can actually have a bit of you can dream a little bit, and you can go on runs, and you can actually go. We can get promoted. And I think I mean, it's easy to say that your first year down it, and the longer you stay down there, the harder it gets to get out, and the more sort of threat you come of just getting stuck. But actually, I think there's a lot to be said for trying to enjoy this season. I mean, it's definitely more entertaining.
I've enjoyed it. I've
nice
really
going
enjoyed going to St Mary's.
It's nice going to games thinking like we can win every week. Like every game we've had this season, I've sort of seen a way we could win it. And in the Prem, you sort of, as I was messaging, sometimes you do just turn up and think, oh no, we've got these today. And I think there's a lot to be said for just enjoying it.
Newcastle
playing a lot.
And people like this, Arsenal. It's just so
hard,
isn't it?
Yeah, you're playing a lot of teams you haven't played for a few years, new ground, stuff like that. So I think there's a lot to be said for that. But also that comes with good results and a positive sort of vibe around the club. And I think that obviously that only comes from good performances and players doing well. I think I think it's actually crucial that we're sort of doing well December time, because I think January could be massive in terms of whether players that are sort of maybe thinking about their futures decide to stick around, or whether they think this club's not going up, it's time to move on. Like the likes of Walker-Peters and Suleimana, I'm sure there'll be interest. Whether they stay is probably hinges quite heavily on whether they think we'll actually get promoted or not.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Fraser, you've been a wonderful guest today. You speak so well. It's been brilliant having you on your show. I've been really fortunate to have you on. So, mate, thank you so very much for your time.
No, thank you.
Hopefully,
very much for having me.
you would come back again. Would you come back again?
Yeah, definitely, mate. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Fraser Spinney, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for everybody that tuned in this evening as well. It's been brilliant to have you all here. I'll be back with another stream again soon. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do give me a sub and follow the channel and hit the notifications for when I go live, because there's loads of live shows coming up over the next couple of weeks. Games are coming thick and fast. International break is over and the Saints are back in action at the weekend against Hull City.